The average retirement income in America is $50,000 a year, and I'm here to tell you that number is a lie. Not because it's inaccurate, because it hides three separate disasters pretending to be one mediocre outcome. Here's what nobody tells you. That 50 grand includes people still working. It includes home equity you can't spend. And it assumes you make it to retirement without getting fired at 62, divorced at 58, or diagnosed with something expensive at 65. I spent 30 years watching people plan for a retirement that doesn't exist anymore. And the gap between what we were told to expect and what actually happens is so wide, you could fit an entire generation's broken dreams inside it. The game of musical chairs. You know how it works. 10 people, 9 chairs, everyone walks in a circle, music stops, somebody loses. American retirement is the same game, except we're told there are enough chairs, we're told if we just keep walking and follow the rules, a chair will be there when we need it. The music is your working years. The chairs are financial security. And right now, I'm watching millions of people realize the music is about to stop and there are way fewer chairs than anyone admitted. Here's what I want to explain. How this system works, why the numbers you see are designed to make you feel okay until it's too late, and what actually happens when you stop earning and start depending on what you saved. Because the official statistics are like a restaurant menu where everything looks great in the photo and then your food arrives. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Frank. 71 years old, worked for the same company for 34 years, did everything right. Saved in his 401k, never carried credit card debt, paid off his mortgage by 59, retired at 67 thinking he had it figured out. His monthly income? Social Security gives him $1,900. His 401k? After the 2008 crash, the 2020 crash, and 40 years of fees, he's pulling about $1,100 a month. That's $3,000 total. His property tax went up, his Medicare supplement is $400 a month, his car insurance doubled because apparently being old makes you a liability, and his wife needs medication that costs $320 every month, even with insurance. Frank isn't broke. He owns his house outright. It's worth $310,000. On paper, he's doing fine. In reality, he's eating chicken 4 nights a week because beef got expensive, and he's deciding which prescriptions his wife can skip when money gets tight. This is the first thing they don't tell you. Income and net worth are not the same game. You can't eat equity. You can't pay for groceries with your furniture. Frank has assets. He doesn't have cash flow. And in retirement, cash flow is the only thing that matters. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but Frank's just one guy. What about the average? Let me tell you about the average. According to the Social Security Administration, 12% of men over 65 and 15% of women rely on Social Security for 90% or more of their income. That's not a safety net. That's the whole floor. For these people, if Social Security disappeared tomorrow, they'd be homeless in 6 months. The median monthly income for Americans 65 and older is about $4,199. Sounds reasonable, right? That's just over $50,000 a year. But here's the trick buried in that number. It includes everyone over 65, even people still working full-time. A 2024 Fidelity survey found that 2/3 of Americans are planning some kind of phased retirement. They're not stopping work at 65. They're tapering off because they have to. Gallup data shows that only 70% of people aged 65 to 69 are even retired. The rest are still grinding. By 70 to 74, 83% are retired. And even then, 12% are still working. When people talk about retirement income, they're mixing people who escaped the game with people still playing it. That $50,000 number is like averaging the temperature of your freezer and your oven and saying your kitchen is 70 degrees. Technically accurate, completely useless. But now you might think, all right, so some people keep working. That's not a disaster. That's a choice. Here's where the incentives get dark. According to Gallup, among people 60 to 64, only 32% are retired. From 55 to 59, 11%. From 50 to 54, 6%. These aren't people loving their jobs so much they can't bear to leave. These are people who ran the numbers and realized the music isn't stopping for them anytime soon. Retirement for most Americans isn't a decision. It's a trap door that opens when your body or your boss decides you're done. Now let's talk about spending. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says Americans 65 and older spend an average of about $57,800 a year. You notice something? That's more than the median income. How does that math work? It works because a lot of retirees are spending down their savings. They're pulling from accounts. They're borrowing. They're going into debt. And yes, debt in retirement is shockingly common. About 60% of Americans over 65 carry some form of debt. Credit cards, car loans, mortgages, home equity lines. You hit retirement, and instead of financial freedom, you're managing payments on a fixed income that doesn't grow while prices do. Here's a story I love. A friend of mine, teacher for 38 years, retired with a pension. Solid middle-class life. Thought she was set. 2 years into retirement, her daughter lost her job. She's got 2 kids. My friend starts helping with groceries, then daycare, then rent. What was supposed to be her time turned into a second career as a financial backstop for a generation that got economically demolished. She's not unusual. A lot of retirees are holding up adult children who can't afford housing, can't afford childcare, can't get out from under student loans. The retirement system assumed you'd stop supporting dependents at 65. It didn't account for a 40-year-old with a master's degree, working gig jobs, and still needing help from mom. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Social Security was never designed to be the primary income source. It was supposed to supplement pensions and savings. But pensions disappeared. Companies figured out they could replace guaranteed lifetime income with 401ks, shift the risk to employees, and cut costs. Brilliant for corporate balance sheets. Catastrophic for everyone else. At the start of 2024, the average Social Security check was about $1,977 a month. For a single person, that's $23,700 a year. Married couples get close to double, around $46,000. That's not poverty, but it's not exactly security either. So where's the rest supposed to come from? Savings, investments. The 401k you've been dumping money into for 30 years. Here's the problem. Most people don't have enough in there. The median retirement account balance for people 55 to 64 is around $134,000. Sounds like a lot until you do the math. If you follow the 4% rule, which says you can safely pull 4% a year without running out, that's $5,360 a year. Add that to Social Security, and you're at about $29,000 a year for a single person. Try living on that. Try paying for healthcare on that. Try absorbing inflation on that. Now, let me hit you with the net worth illusion. This is my favorite magic trick. The median net worth for households aged 65 to 74 is about $410,000. For 75 and older, it's around $335,000. On paper, that looks survivable. But here's the catch. Most of that is the house. Strip out home equity, and liquid assets get real thin real fast. The house can store value, but it doesn't pay bills unless you sell it, which means moving, or you borrow against it, which means debt, or you reverse mortgage it, which means your kids inherit nothing and you better hope you don't outlive the loan terms. I'll tell you about another guy I know. Electrician, retired at 66, house paid off, worth $280,000. 401k had $97,000 in it. Social Security gives him $1,800 a month. He figured he'd pull $4,000 a year from savings and live on $25,600 total. Doable. Then his wife needed knee surgery, $8,000 out of pocket after insurance. Then their air conditioning died, $6,200. Then property taxes jumped. Suddenly his 401k is dropping $10,000, $12,000 a year instead of $4,000. He's 70 now. He's watching his savings evaporate and doing math in his head about how many years he's got left. That's not retirement. That's a countdown. And inflation is killing people softly. Social Security adjusts for inflation, but not fast enough and not fully. A cost of living adjustment sounds great until you realize groceries went up 14% in 2 years and your check went up 6%. You're losing purchasing power in real time. Insurance premiums climb. Property taxes climb. Utilities climb. Your income basically flat. Every year, your dollars buy less. It's like trying to run up a down escalator. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The system isn't broken by accident. It's working exactly as designed. Corporations wanted out of pensions. Wall Street wanted 401k fees. The government wanted to privatize risk. Everyone got what they wanted except workers, who got told they were now investors responsible for their own retirement, except nobody taught them how to invest, nobody warned them about fees, and nobody mentioned that 2 crashes in 12 years would wipe out decades of gains right when they needed the money most. You got handed a game with rules that change every decade and told it was your fault if you lost. Let me give you the mini case study. Meet Linda, 68 years old, worked retail management for 31 years, retired with Social Security paying her $1,700 a month. She's got $68,000 in a 401k, no pension. House worth $190,000. Still owes $41,000 on the mortgage because she refinanced twice to help her son and to cover her husband's medical bills before he died. Her monthly budget is tight. Mortgage is $900, utilities are $200, car payment, insurance, and gas are $400, Medicare and supplements are $380. Groceries are $350 if she's careful. That's $2,230 a month in fixed costs. She's pulling $530 a month from her 401k just to break even. At that rate, she's got 10 years before the account hits zero. She's already cutting back on everything. No vacations, no eating out, no gifts for grandkids. She's not living, she's surviving. And she did everything she was told to do. Now here's the comedic relief. I was talking to a guy at a coffee shop last month. He's 57, still working, planning to retire at 65. I asked him how much he thought he'd need. He said, I don't know, maybe 400,000? That should be good, right? I didn't have the heart to tell him that 400,000 generates 16,000 a year at 4%, and with Social Security, he's looking at maybe 40,000 total if he's lucky. He's planning a retirement that costs 60,000 a year. The math doesn't work, it's not close, but he's optimistic. I admire that. I also know how this story ends. Another friend told me her plan is to sell her house when she retires, buy something cheaper, and live off the difference. I said, and if the market crashes the year you retire? She looked at me like I'd suggested the earth might stop spinning. That won't happen, she said. It happened in 2008. It happened in 2020. It'll happen again. Timing is everything. And you don't control timing. This is where the whole thing falls apart. You're told to save. You save. You're told to invest. You invest. Then the market crashes, your account drops 40%, and you're supposed to retire into that. Or you don't crash. You just retire into a decade of low returns and high inflation, and your money runs out at 81 instead of 91. Either way, you lose. The difference is just how slowly, and let's talk about the geography piece. Retirement income varies wildly by state. Some states see retirees pulling in twice what others do. That's wages during working years, cost of living, tax policy, and weather. High-wage states like California or New York, people saved more because expenses were higher. Low-cost states like Mississippi or Arkansas, people need less to survive, but they also saved less to begin with. Tax-friendly states like Florida or Texas don't touch Social Security or retirement income. Other states will tax everything. All of this combines into a huge range of outcomes. 2 people with identical savings can have completely different retirements depending on their zip code. Now you're asking yourself, what do I actually do with this? Because I'm not giving you inspiration. I'm giving you reality. And reality says you need 3 things. First, figure out your actual number, not a vague goal, not what some website calculator tells you. Sit down and build a real monthly budget for retirement. Include everything: healthcare, taxes, insurance, food, housing, transportation, everything. Multiply by 12, that's your yearly need. Subtract Social Security. What's left is what your savings have to generate. At 4% withdrawal, multiply that gap by 25. That's your target. If the number scares you, good, it should. Now you know what you're dealing with. Second, control the only 2 levers you have: increase income or decrease expenses. You can't control the market, you can't control inflation, you can't control when you get laid off or sick, but you can control how much you spend and how much you save. Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you invest. Every dollar you invest is a dollar working for you later. It's not sexy. It's just math. Downsize before you have to. Cut subscriptions. Drive the car longer. Eat at home. It's boring. It's unglamorous. And it's the only thing that works. Third, diversify your income sources in retirement. If your plan is Social Security plus a 401k, you're one bad market away from panic. Add other streams. Rental income if you can. Part-time work if your body allows. Dividends from investments. Anything that puts money in your account that isn't dependent on selling assets in a down market. The more sources, the more resilient you are when one fails. The system is not built to save you. It's built to extract from you and then leave you with whatever's left. The average retirement income is worse than you think because it's hiding all the people who didn't make it, it's inflated by people still working, and it includes assets you can't spend. If you're planning to be average, you're planning to struggle. Plan to be better, or plan to keep working until you can't. Those are the options. The music's playing, the chairs are running out, and nobody's adding more.